Episode 3, talking Jaspers baseball. I am Mark Renee. This is the head coach of the Jaspers, Dave Miller. First of all, sir, congratulations. You get your first win as the head coach here at Manhattan College, game 1 of Sunday's doubleheader. Before we talk about the rest of the weekend, how was that?
Well, I mean, it's great to get your first win at Manhattan, but I think from the player standpoint, it was good for them to get that win off their backs. They were starting to put a little pressure on themselves. So it's great for me, but it was really great for the kids. It relaxed them a little bit. And I think it's only going to help us moving forward.
Not your first rodeo, so it's not your first win at a program, but ground ball to second base, goes over to first. Where's the ball?
Believe it or not, I gave it to Coop. It was given to me, and then it was taken from me. So okay. I don't know where it is right now.
Nice, so it'll probably go in a trophy case somewhere then. Let's talk before that, obviously. You had no game on Friday, pushed back to Saturday, and you were supposed to have a Saturday doubleheader anyway, but now you're playing back-to-back doubleheaders. And right out of the gate, CSUB gets 6 runs in the bottom of the first inning, helped out by 3 unearned runs. That could not have felt good given how you started against Stetson in game 1 of the season, right?
No, nothing feels good. And I mean, it was a routine fly ball to center field that our sure-handed center fielder, Frankie Mirinelli, it just in and out. I mean, that's the stuff that happens, and that's the stuff, baseball's a crazy game. You give him 100 of those, he usually catches 99 of them, and that's the one he missed. But, it was a crazy weekend, and I'm never one for excuses. But I mean, it was warmer in New York than it was in California that weekend. It was just a hang with them weekend all around, and it was a tough situation. It was tough sledding, but the guys were resilient. They were ready to play. Again, 1-3 on the weekend, which is not good in any circumstance for us, but the baseball team is playing better. I thought we played much better defense. We pitched well. That game 3 win, they came in and held that lead. There was a lot of positives coming out of it, so that, it's just only going to make us better moving forward.
Daniel Perez in that first game wound up hitting the team's first home run of the year. I know it in the end didn't amount to much, but how nice was it finally to get off that schneid?
Yeah, I think right now offense has been the biggest hiccup for us from a standpoint that, we're just not finding holes, we're striking out too much. But again, we got beat pretty good on Friday or Saturday, first game, but the strikeouts were limited. We went back to work, we went back to the drawing board, so to speak, and we're really putting in some time getting this offense, to figure some things out.
Then in game 2, Will Hessling, much better than he was in the opening game of the season, a 3-0 loss against the Roadrunners. But you ran into a buzzsaw on the mound, kid named Jeter Sherman. 10 strikeouts in 6 innings.
Yeah, he was a legit arm. He had that moxie that I love from any player. That inner confidence that he brought to the table. But he wasn't afraid to challenge us. He had great stuff, a mid-90s arm. That kid's got a bright future, and he, I think Will pitched a great game. It just goes to prove that he will compete for us on a Friday or Saturday, whenever we give him the ball, and Hessling's going to win a lot of games for us. But yeah, when you're struggling with the offense and you get a guy like that, Jeter, who just went out and dominated from the first pitch on, it made for a long game.
It's not very hospitable. A guy named Jeter is not supposed to treat a team from Riverdale in the Bronx like that, even a little bit. So Sunday we jump ahead, a 5-4 win. Jack Lynch, big game, had an RBI triple, had a home run, his first of the season. And Roraback was really special on the mound that day, wasn't he?
Yeah, Darian is, we had him originally slated to be our closer, but, when we got to Stetson and, we weren't getting into a closing situation, we thought maybe it would be best to get him out early. So we made him a starter, and we are now going to try to build him up to be our Sunday starter. He is, again, he has that inner confidence that I look for. he just is a bulldog when he's out on that mound. He commands the ball, he wants the ball, he controls the game. He's a true gamer. I think great things are going to happen with him on the mound for us every Sunday, and I look forward to him being the guy that helps win us a series. Jack, from an offensive standpoint, he's really been the rock, really the only guy that's been consistent since the first pitch of the season till now. If we can get the rest of the guys to start doing what he does and get him some help, it could be a fun season.
I want to talk about the offense in just a sec, but I want to wrap up on Rorbeck. And 69 pitches in 5 innings, really economical. How much more stretched out does he need to be?
We need to get him to around 100 pitches, but we had built him up to be a reliever, so 69 to 75 is about his limit right now, and he could feel the fatigue. When you got a guy like him who wants the ball in his hands, when he came up to us after that 5th inning and said, I'm feeling it a little bit, then we knew that we had pushed him as far as he was going to be able to go that day, and then it was just great that we had, Garrett, Garbinski, and Oliver Pudvar to close it out.
And Pudvar wound up getting an 8-out save. Garbinski picks up the win. Obviously, big picture, it doesn't really matter, but Rorbeck denied the win, even though he pitched those 5 really good innings.
Yep.
Again, really nice to finally get that first win out of the way, and Pudvar getting 8 outs is not something that you see every day.
And especially from 2 freshmen on the back end. I mean, these are guys that have really good stuff, but we like to tend to lean heavily on your veteran pitchers, to guide these guys through and get Oliver and Garrett ready for down the road. But they've proven that they want the ball. They're not afraid. They're not pitching like freshmen. And that's the best thing about these 2 young men is give them the ball and just let them go throw, let them go pitch.
All right, let's talk about the offense a little bit. Leading off the first inning on Saturday in Game 1, Frankie Marinelli gets on base again. 4th straight game he's reached with either a hit or a walk leading off a game. But then in Game 2 and for the rest of the weekend, you dropped him down to the cleanup spot and you moved Pete DeRocher up to number 1. What went into that decision?
I decided to put him in the leadoff spot to try to take some pressure off him. Pete is a guy that, again, we lean on heavily to be your go-to guy. He was a preseason all-conference player, but I think he's putting a little too much pressure on himself, so we thought that maybe if we lead him off, that he can just get up there, see ball, hit ball, instead of worrying about every time he's up there with a runner in scoring position to do too much. I mean, it paid off on Sunday, Game 1. He had a double. I think he had 2 doubles. And with Frankie, we put him behind Jack to protect him. So again, we were asking guys to do things that they were uncomfortable doing, but I'm just trying to somehow jumpstart this offense some way, any way I can.
And with the 4-game round robin against the Hawks and the Mountain Hawks this weekend, you're going to go visit Maryland Eastern Shore and play UMES for 2 games. You've also got Lehigh, the Mountain Hawks, for 2 games. What does the lineup look like in your head for Game 1 on Friday?
I haven't made that decision yet. I'm leaning going back to Frankie going into the leadoff spot. That was just a temporary fix for Pete, but I mean, it's more than just Pete that's got to get going. We've got basically, 1 through 9 that we've got to really get back to the drawing board and get them seeing the ball and getting some confidence swinging the bat. Again, it's going to be a great weekend. It's just, early northern schools. We're going to be dealing with some weather. So it's just to hang with them and get these guys ready to play, get them confident, and just start to get rolling.
It's a fun ride down to Princess Anne in Maryland, right off of Route 13 on the Delmarva Peninsula. And as you pass through Salisbury, which is the home of Purdue, it smells an awful lot like chicken all the way down. I know you're familiar with this, having worked in Philadelphia and down in the DMV for a while. But back to the offense, last question. 72 team strikeouts now. I know it's not where you want to be, but how do you manage to get everybody to start cutting down on the games?
We did a lot of 2-strike approach this past week. So we had a better weekend this weekend than last, and it's just we got to hopefully every weekend we get better and better and better. I'm an offensive guy. I'm the hitting coach. This is my responsibility. we'll get back to the drawing board. This is something that I deem unacceptable, but, you know, it happens. Again, not one to make excuses, but I'd rather this be the first 7 games of the season than the last 7. So, you know, my goal is to get this team ready to go win the MAC. So we're taking our lumps now, but in the end, it's going to make us a better team.
And in terms of the rotation, Connor O'Neill got his first start in Game 2 on Sunday. You guys were getting shut out until Jack Lynch delivered a 2-run single in the 7th inning, which turned out to be the last inning of that game. But what do you like from O'Neill in his first outing? He
had a 3-pitch mix. You know, Connor got sick over the holiday break over Christmas, and he lost about 20 pounds, and he lost a lot of velocity. So, you know, it was great to see him this weekend. His fastball was back up to touching 87, 88, you know, when he was at 90, 91 in the fall. So we think he's almost back, but you know, his breaking ball is very good pitch. He has a good changeup and a good slider. So, you know, he's a guy that we really, you know, if he comes back fully, you know, maybe we can get Warbeck back into the bullpen and bring Connor back into the starting rotation. But, you know, just got to get him healthy, get him right. And again, we're taking some lumps now, you know, hoping that it's going to be best for us in, you know, come conference.
The basketball coach that used to work here in the Bronx who would say early pain for late game.
Yeah.
And it worked out to be a pretty good philosophy.
You got to steal that,
Yeah. Could probably put it on a t-shirt. I don't know if he trademarked it. What's the pitching rotation look like in terms of not necessarily which games each guy goes, but in terms of the 4 starters that you have in mind?
Right now we're looking at, with Fagler, Hesslink, we're going to keep Warbeck in the rotation this weekend, but because O'Neill threw almost 80 pitches on Sunday, if we're playing 2 games on Friday, we're going to keep it TBD on that second starter Friday night. You know, it could be Farley, could be Big John Kwiatkowski. You know, I just got to see how the week progresses.
All right, and in terms of getting ready for the trip next week to Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns, what do you want to see from your team in these 4 games, the 2 against Lehigh, the 2 against UMES?
100 hits would be nice. But, you know, again, we just got to play clean baseball. You know, we've made some untimely mistakes. You know, again, I'm a big guy on flushing that. I want these guys to know that. I've been in their shoes before. Nobody wants to make errors. It happens. Nobody wants to strike out. It happens. But, you know, when we go down to Austin in a couple weeks, we're going to face a draft pick just about every night. So, you know, we've got to figure it out sooner rather than later to go down there and be able to compete with these guys. And, you know, I want to see us go out there and take it pitch by pitch, but I want to see these guys. Our big message this past weekend was I want to see leaders. You know, I want to see guys who want to get out on that field, and it's about winning a baseball game, not just going out there happy that they're in the lineup. So, you know, we saw some really good things this weekend, but, you know, I have some guys that are itching to get in that lineup, and some guys that are in that lineup that got to start to figure some things out to stay in that lineup. So, this will be a great week of practice to get them to compete against each other, get better, and, you know, we'll worry about Lehigh first before we worry about Texas.
I wanted to ask you, in terms of the record, obviously 1-6, not where you want to be, but you're looking at the big picture ahead to the MAC conference schedule. How hard is it to keep your guys focused on what they need to do and not have all that doubt creep into their heads that, wow, you know, we're really in a tailspin?
It's a big thing, and that's why that first win was very important. You know, it's getting them to go out and not be satisfied with that one win. You know, going out there and competing in that second game to want to go home 2-2. You know, we got swept weekend 1. We got our first win now, but now it's these guys got to show me, like, you know, it's baseball is an up and down sport. You know, we have a guy who's an all-conference player last year that's 2 for 20 something on the season, right? It happens. Doesn't mean you're a bad player, you've forgotten how to play the game. It's just, you know, there's hot streaks, there's cold streaks, and right now, you know, you've got to figure out what to do offensively. But, you know, I'm not worried one bit about this team, and I've got to get them to believe the same way that I do. They've got to understand that I've got just as much confidence now that I did 3 weeks ago. We've all been there, but, you know, these guys got to really just dig down and get tough.
And I know you've got 8 games on the schedule before the home opener on St. Patrick's Day, but with a little more than 2 weeks left until your first game at Clover Stadium, how much is the anticipation starting to build for you and for the guys?
Well, this is funny. I mean, I've been here since September. I still haven't seen Clover Field. I mean, I'm still waiting to get over there, but I mean, everybody loves to play at home. I mean, you know, your family, your friends, your fans, they get out there to cheer for you. So, yeah, everybody wants to get to a home game. You know, we're just in a situation where, you know, we have a grass field up north. You know, it's just the way of the world that, you know, our first 4 or 5 weekends are going to be on the road. I think the kids are used to that. But, I mean, it'll be a welcome to everybody when we get out there on Clover Field.
It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
All right, well, good luck this weekend. We'll
Appreciate
see you virtually next week when we do this. Because of the MAC basketball tournaments going on in Atlantic City, our production team will be on the road with the Jaspers basketball team. So, Coach, you and I will be doing this in a virtual setting, which ought to be interesting. But I'm looking forward to it. Good luck this weekend. 2 games against Lehigh, 2 games against UMES, the Mountain Hawks, and the Hawks. Can't be any match for the Jaspers, right? Thanks for joining us. We're talking Jaspers baseball. That's the coach, Dave Miller. I'm Mark Ernay. We'll see you next week.